This is going to be a different episode. This is not going to be about tactics and scripts and strategy and structure. I'm really excited because this episode is going to be a story. And I want to, you guys have been a part of this journey for a while, and I want to bring you into something that's happening behind the scenes. And I'm really, 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 really excited about it. And I thought, today's episode, we're going to take a little bit of a different journey. And it starts with a story because I want to bring you somewhere. So stay till the end because I've got an exciting announcement to the end. But you guys have been on this journey and the story, and I want to bring you with me. And so this last, I don't know, several months ago, my twin brother, so many of you already know, Jim, you guys have read his book, Unstuck and Unstoppable. He's a great pastor in the Richmond, Rosenberg area, pastors a thriving church. I mean, just a really great church. And so a couple of months ago, he and I started meeting on Thursday mornings, early morning, to just with one purpose. The one purpose was discipleship. We're both Christ followers, love Jesus. And, the thing was this: I can tell that I had been drifting, and not out of a lack of intent or like not a love for Jesus in my faith. And listen, don't stop here. If you don't believe, it's okay. You don't have to believe to belong, but I want to share the story because it's so powerful. So we just started on this quest, and you got to get it. I mean, he's like a pastor, essentially a theologian. Man, he's done such a great job and just knows the Bible and stuff. And we both said, you know what, we've never been discipled. Let's just meet, and we're gonna meet at 7 a.m. and we're gonna meet until, I don't know, indefinitely, and we're gonna go through this discipleship thing. And what was started with my brother as a conversation ends a little bit different than what I expected. And there's not a bad thing to it, but what we've begun to realize as we dive deep into discipleship, it was interesting in the book of Ephesians, it talks about, Paul is helping guide the church. And so we did this study, and one of the interesting things is as we began to dive deeper into discipleship, we began to realize that it doesn't start with tactics. It doesn't start with all of the things to do. When you boil it all down, and here's where it's impactful and powerful, it boils down to number one, you've got to understand your identity. And it began this path of just digging deeper and saying, man, that's the missing piece for so many of you. Some of you went through my, we did these live classes, and I did that for a few years, and so many of you were a part of it. And what was interesting is this topic kept coming back up. Your past expectations or past experiences frame future expectations. And it's like, oh, I would do this, but man, I've done that before and it didn't work. Or, those agents, they've all got a lender. They don't need my services. And what happens is words and experiences and life and what's happened to you begins to frame your future expectation. And listen, expectation begins to frame your activity. And if you're discouraged or you don't believe there's a reality that it'll happen, it creates discouragement. Discouragement gives you an inability to act. And man, as we started just unpacking this and working through it, it's like this has been a missing piece, not only in discipleship, but I believe in coaching because, hey, listen, you guys know I'm like the king of scripts. I'm the king of structure and strategy. But one of the things over the last 2 years that really my content and what I've been working on personally and with the people that are working close with me is identity. How do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Who do you truly believe and see that you are? Because here's what happens is, and this is a major framework, is, we've been teaching loan officers and me too in the beginning. I believe it's the wrong thing first. It's like, hey, use this script and go make 25 outbound calls and you'll have 10 conversations and ask for the business 10 times and you'll get 2 referrals. Yes, yes, and yes. All that works. But the challenge is we're trying to have the result. Like this year, my goal is to make $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. And so we want to have without doing the work it takes to have that. But you can't do the activity because you haven't become the person that actually does the activity to get the results. So here's what happens is you're trying to have and then do, And then if the being, which means becoming the person that does the activity that gets the results, gets worked on, now it'll be almost a miracle, because what it ends up being, and here's what I've seen. We've done the podcast now for, 8-10 years. And one of the greatest things is, like, as long as you're in this high intensity environment, what happens is you're able to maintain and manage behavior modification. Well, the challenge is, once you leave that environment, once you leave heavy accountability, once you leave, in some cases, and some people, it's like they just beat on you and it's like, that's what I like, it's what I need. No. That's behavior modification. What needs to happen is transformation. And transformation doesn't happen at a standstill. It happens as you're moving, but very intentionally. Because we have to become, and here's what the aha has been in my heart for the last months and months and months. It's like, man, I want to continue to not only grow personally, but to help other loan officers and what I would call our peers. You guys are peers. I just happen to be the one that I feel like God gives me the ability to help lead us. But peers getting better because we're uncovering our unique design and what God's called us to be and do. And it's like, when I uncover what I'm uniquely designed to do, my giftings, my talent, my spiritual gifts, my voice, and what nobody else can do better than I can do, then when I add tactics to it, the results are exponential, because you're just accelerating what's already on the inside of you. And I really believe this has been the missing piece. And I know in one of my sessions where I talk about time, we show a big jar of rocks, and you've got big rocks, medium rocks, small rocks, and pebbles. And if I just took them and just grouped them all together, shook it up and tried to drop it in a jar, you wouldn't be able to fit everything in, because what happens is you've got to put the big rocks in first, the medium rocks in second, the small rocks third, and then the pebbles you can kind of squeeze around where they go. Well, what happens is, I think about that in our business journey, in our entrepreneurial journey, in our loan officer journey, is this. It's like we're trying to have. My goal is 10 closings a month, 15 closings a month, 20 closings a month. And then, okay, well, what do I got to do? Man, I got to make these calls. I got to do this. I got to say this script. I got to follow up. I got to blah, 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 blah. And then it falls short because we're trying to force ourselves with sometimes harsh, shameful accountability, versus understanding that. And here's where the transformation is. I love prospecting because, guess what? It's not something I'm doing. It's something I am. It's because it's just what I do. I touch the lead, touch the partner. I ask for the business every time. Why? Because my identity has been being transformed, and that transformational identity is changing my behavior. Because if I'm somebody who asks for the business and it's just what I do, I don't have to wonder, well, what are they going to think? I'm being too salesy, and man, it may be too pushy. None of that matters anymore, because I've changed the false belief with the reality, and my identity is being changed. And here's the thing, you got to do it while you're running. It doesn't happen overnight. I think it happens over months and years. But when you get in a community of people that understand the framework of where it really starts, not getting it out of order for behavior modification, but really getting it right so that there's internal transformation that leads to the activity. When you're being transformed internally and then you begin to learn some tactics that go along with that transformation, your results start to skyrocket. And I can tell you this, man, I've seen it over and over and over again. The pattern is you get fired up. Come on, everybody, get fired up. I went to a conference. I heard a podcast. I watched a YouTube video, and man, I'm excited and I'm going to do it. And guess what? Hey, me too. I've done this. And it's like, I'm going to get back and I'm going to make 25 calls every single day. You guys know I've been originating. I'm a producer just right alongside with you guys. And I get a lead pro lending mortgage, which is fun. But it's not like these aren't things I hope I'm doing or I did at one time. We're all building our business. We're all building predictable income. We're all building to be what we call a predictable producer. You're going to start hearing me saying that more, is that, You run hard because you know it's what needs to be done, but after a couple of weeks it starts to fade. Why? Because it's behavior modification and not an identity shift. And then we begin to blame the strategy and move on to the next one, and the cycle repeats. And I've got a big month, and then I got a little month. And how many times have you closed 8 to 10 loans, and the next month you close 2 or 3? Well, that's a process issue, which we're going to fix. Man, these next couple of months I'm excited about. We're going to really together walk this out. Is that is a process, and processes can be fixed, but the only way processes are sustained is when your identity is changed. When there's an internal transformation, and it's not a good idea, it's who we are. It's how we run the play. It's what we do, because I am a predictable producer, and I love prospecting because it helps me meet other people with similar vision, values, and beliefs. And when there's an alignment, together we can make an even greater impact in the lives of the families we serve and make a ton of money doing it. What? I love it. Well, that's a transformation, and it takes time. And the activity wasn't broken. The order has been broken. And listen, I get it. You got to close loans now. I'm already looking into the next 2 months pipelines, and I know I got to be on the phone. I got to be asking for the business. I've got to have my high-tech, high-touch, low-time activities continuing to run on autopilot so that the business is coming in. But here's what happens is we got to do the activity while we're being transformed, and understanding that transformation is the right order. It's the being, the be. It's who I am. It's what I do. Yes, because I've taken the old mindset, the past expectations, the past experiences, and I'm reframing them. And as I'm making the calls, guess what? Transformation of the being is happening at the transformation of the doing, which quickly begins to show the having, because your results start to show. You can literally turn your entire business around in 90 days or less. I've seen it time and time and time again. And so the difference in this model is most coaching is volume driven, and it's tactics, which I'm a big fan of tactics. You guys know that's my gift. But what I want to do is bring you along, because here's what I realize. We're going to have tactics, but there's got to be transformation. And here's what I've been doing over the last months is just building this out. And really, the shift was when I met with Jim, and I realized we don't need more coaching. We need discipleship. And disciples are made through peers moving in the same direction. And we say it like this: it's one people, one purpose, one language. Nothing's impossible. And what are we doing? It's the iron sharpens iron. It's the line upon line. It's the precept upon precept. It's the step upon step. And here's what I was thinking about even this last week. The shift in me was, instead of just throwing something out there, I'm going to bring you on the journey, and we're going to do this together. And, it's not about selling tactics. It's about walking a path. And it's about everyone goes through the same door and the same steps and the same language, including the producers, who are already doing 15 loans a month. And you begin to learn that, hey, if I got 5 steps of sales fulfillment, then not only can I do it, but then guess what? I can help a team member replicate the same results, which now gives me exponential leverage. And so what I'm excited about is building this architecture of a discipleship type model of peers moving in the same direction of coaching. And it's not like a coaching for tactics, it's a coaching for transformation. And, here's what's interesting too. And I hear some of you may be listening. It's like, well, I don't necessarily believe in Jesus and Christianity, and I'm okay with that. You don't have to believe to belong. The foundational principles are the truth. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin to just move this thing out. And over the next couple weeks, I'm going to bring you on this journey, because I've got something so exciting that's launching the week of the 18th. Here in the next couple of weeks, that I want you to be a part of, and I want to bring you into us building it together. And here's what we're doing: is it's the predictable producer. And what it is it's a whole framework, and it's a whole be, do, have, instead of having and trying to do and then rarely becoming the person that does the activity to have the results. And so I'm really excited about it. And what I wanted to do today was just share my heart. I really feel like there's something that's being unlocked, because now is the time. Now is the time for advancement. Now is the time for acceleration. But the challenge is, so many of us for so long have been stuck. And it's like, I know God's called and created me to do more. I know I got more in me, but it's like, I don't know why I have these high highs and these low lows. And man, it's like we're on track a little bit, and then all of a sudden the wheels come off. And what I really believe is that if you'll track it back, you'll begin to see that that's an identity issue, because once you fix identity, everything else begins to really fall in place. And so here's what I'm doing is I'm building a different model. It's and it's launching the first steps of this model here in the next few weeks. And I want you to join me and to be a part of it. If this has resonated with you and you say, that's the difference, that's what I've been missing, I'm going to invite you on the journey. We're looking to, it's a discipleship coaching model that it is tactics, but it's really more about transformation while you do tactics. And then together we're going to walk a path, and everybody's going to go through the same doors, the same steps, the same languages, whether you're doing 15 or 20 or 30. I know some of my buddies here, you've been closing, I got two friends, they're closing 40 transactions a month. It doesn't matter how many you've producing a month. It matters that there's internal transformation. Or you may be brand new. I've got a friend of mine, Caden, and he had started, and within just a few months started closing, brand new to the industry, started closing 5 loans a month. And it's in part because you've got to go back to the transformation of what happens on the inside. And I just want to invite you. We're going to walk it out. I've never built something like this. And, over the last 30 days, it's like, if I can get it all perfected, then I'm going to roll it out to our community. And here's what I just really felt like the Holy Spirit was speaking to me. Don't do it that way. Bring you guys into it. Let's build it together. Bring you into the story and the journey and what a good friend of mine used to tell me, it's version 1 to get to version 2. And really that's what I want to do. I want to bring you on the story, bring you on the journey, so that we build this community together and we shape it as it goes. And I want to personally invite you, join me here in the loan officer leadership community as we roll out the predictable producer and in a path to true transformation. Because I believe that when you become the person that does the work, the right activity that is not busy work, it's productive and it's high tech, high touch, low time, it's high results, high leverage activities. That's where you begin to scale. And listen, nobody's trying to close a bunch of loans. We're trying to make a financial impact in our lives and our families and the impact that we make. Look, the better you become as a person, the more transformation you have, guess what happens? You begin to affect your agents and your partners and your clients and the people that God has called you to serve in your market and your industry and your coworkers and other loan officers that need to be a part of this community. And as you invite them in this journey, we begin to become just an amazing community of collaboration and peers. And hey, whether you're doing 0 or you're doing 20 or 30, 40 loans a month, look, here's the deal. I may just be a few steps further than you, or you may be a few steps further than me. You might be a lot of steps further than me. And here's what I love. We're learning from each other and we're going to get better together. It's not just a phrase. And so I'm really excited. And here's the thing. We're going to be opening up our community. The room is now like the first room. This is what I would call the founders group to really get into what we're building. And I believe the people that get in early are going to be the ones that help, or I believe the most impacted, because we're building and shaping this culture of a community. And I'm excited to see who shows up. I'm excited about the conversations. I'm excited about the transformation. And listen, here's the other thing too. Part of what I envision and what I'm seeing is not only are we getting better, but that every one of us would turn around and help someone else get better. You know what discipleship is? And here, if you look in the book of Ephesians, what was just a great reminder was that it isn't go and do, it's first identity. That they called it sit, stand, walk. And that's what you do. Now, in our business, you got to run while you're being transformed because we got to get loans in the door. But what happens is as you're transforming and you're becoming the person that does the activity, the real power is when we turn around and say, hey, look, I'm going to grab 2 or 3. I'm going to grab 5 or 6. I'm going to grab 12 people. And together in this community, and this is part of what I'm going to empower and really build, is the impact is as you're being transformed, we're bringing other people into a community, not because we're trying to be big, but because we're trying to be transformative. And I'll tell you what, you never grow more than when you're turning around helping someone else and you're able to say, hey, tell me about where you're at. What are you seeing? And you're like, oh yeah, I was there. Look, if you do this, this, and this, you know what a coaching community does? It accelerates. That's it. You're already going to be successful. You're already going to get there. You're already going to be what God's called you to be. All the coaching community does inside of loan officer leadership is helps you get there faster, with less headaches and less frustration, and not alone by yourself. And I got to tell you this, I here over probably a couple years ago, I was meeting with 20 to 30 loan officers in 30-minute consultations, literally every single week. I mean, the amount of volume of conversations that I was having with real great loan officers in the United States was remarkable. And I'll never forget when I came back and tried to summarize what I was hearing, one of the number one things, and this was shocking to me, was that I'm on an island alone by myself. And I mean, it had to be one of the top 3 things I kept hearing over. And it didn't matter if they were at a big company, little company, retail, brokerage, none of that mattered. Big town, little town. It was this isolation. And my encouragement is this: don't live and don't do life alone. And today I'm going to invite you. We're rolling out the first phase of the Predictable Producer here in the next 2.5 weeks, and I want you to come be a part of it. And if this resonates with you, I want you to get involved, and I want you to begin to see transformation. And listen, some of you already know some of the tactics. I mean, you guys have been listening to the podcast for a long time. I've just taken my content and put it in a way that really is a line upon line, a precept on precept, where it's like I just take one step every week. If I just take one step every week, what happens is, and this is what I've seen in Jim and I meeting every week in discipleship. Let me tell you how crazy this is. We're literally sitting at the table at the church. He and I, the first time we met, and this is part of where I want to bring you into the story, but here's how crazy it is. Here he is, a pastor, years and years. I've been a believer since I was 12 years old, and we both looked at each other and said, we don't even know where to start in discipleship. So we grabbed resources, and then we started looking at the resources, and it's like, man, it's a little jumbled. It's a little hard. What's the next step? And it took you from here to there to there, and it didn't all quite it was good, but what we realized is there's a real gap in the simplicity of one week after next week after the next week. And that's where I feel like God began to impress me on my heart was that's the same thing with coaching. You know, the challenge is you start anywhere you want, you get in where you fit in, and then it's like there's been no foundation that's been built, and the foundation that's been built is based on behavior modification, and look, and that's the self-loathing. Like I feel like a failure, and then you have a great month and celebrating. So it's like, I'm a winner, I'm doing great, I'm a top producer, and then I'm a failure. It's these ups and downs because there wasn't a path that everybody started. Whether you do 20 to 50 loans a month or whether you do 0 loans, we're all starting in the same place. Why? Because when you build the foundation right, everything else falls into place. You know, the visual I just had was the story in the Bible where the people were building their houses. One was on sand and one was on a foundation. Listen, I think it happens in coaching. I've been a part of coaching entities over the last 20 years, all good intentions, and I think they're all amazing. I think they're helping people get better. But for me personally, I think the missing linchpin has always been the identity. And it's been understanding that my current activities are being done based on my past experience and my past framework and expectations. And until I began to really, and this happened probably 5 or 6 years ago, I began to really hone in. And Jim wrote his book, what is it? Unstuck and Unstoppable. And man, we went through that book together, and it was just, again, it was one of those where I began to realize, but I didn't know how to articulate it. The missing linchpin has been and will always be if you start outside of identity and go to tactics first. And so I want to encourage you, listen, if this is resonating with you, I'm going to bring you on the journey. And if somebody else you know it's like, this is what they need, this is the community you can be a part of, go to loanofficerleadership.com. And know this, we're going to flip the landing page here in a couple of weeks. We're flipping everything. It's a total transformation. But what I do want you to do is it's join the movement. And put your name and your email, like give us your information, your first name, last name, email, and your cell phone number. And look, I promise you this, I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to hit you with a bunch of unwanted stuff, but I want you in my community. And to do that, you got to go to the movement, go to loanofficerleadership.com and say, join the movement. It's at the very top banner, fill it out. And then it's going to give you a sequence of steps. And what I'm going to do is I'm launching an episode 2 a week for the next probably month, because we're going to begin this journey together. And here's the thing, I don't have it all figured out, but we're going to figure it out together. And you know what you're going to see modeled is sometimes you just take action and clarity comes. We take action and confidence comes. You take action, get version 1, and then we're going to shape it into version 2 and version 3. And man, I envision that as producers, we have captains in the group that are literally helping to shape the culture and helping loan officers that maybe are a couple of steps behind, and recognizing where you sit. It doesn't determine your wealth. It doesn't determine your value. Your value is in who you are. It's just you may be a few steps further behind than we are, but that doesn't mean anyone's better than the other person. All it means is that I was able to see, maybe I've been doing it longer. 24 years, I'm doing it longer than my buddy Caden, who's been doing it less than a year. But guess what? Because of the relationship, he's accelerated, because he's a part of a community and relationships. And man, I am fired up and I'm just excited. And I want to really invite you, go to Loan Officer Leadership, join the movement. Something's opening up week May 18th. And man, it's going to be exciting, and I want you to be a part of it. And again, go to Loan Officer Leadership, click on join the movement, put your first name, last name, email, cell phone. And I can't wait to release over the next few weeks what's happening coming these next couple weeks. And hey guys, remember this, as I really believe you were made for this. You're called to be in this business, whether you stumbled into it by accident, quote unquote. I really believe that God has you in this place at this time. And it's because he wants to do a work in your heart. And I'm excited, to see who joins me. And we're going to do this thing together. So, all right, guys, remember this. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.